Well, welcome back to 42nd Street, Pete's Big Dumb Fun Show, or whatever the fuck I'm going to call it. This fucking episode. Someone had asked me to talk about Blood Feast. Now, you have to realize that when Blood Feast came out in 1963, I was 11 years old. And there was no way, shape, or form my parents were ever going to let me go see a movie called Blood Feast. And to be honest with you, I did see it in the newspaper ads when I was a kid, and I was intrigued. But the whole situation was it wasn't playing anywhere close by. It was playing at the First Run houses in downtown Newark, New Jersey, which wasn't really a safe place for an 11-year-old kid to go unescorted. So no, I did not see Blood Feast at the theaters. Legend has it that it ran in the Rialto on 42nd Street for 3 months straight, but that was told by Bill Landis, so I got to take that with a grain of salt. I did see Blood Feast on a bootleg tape one night during a card game at my house. And it was a grainy, fourth-generation bootleg that was, honestly, funny and detracted from the card game because it was so over the top and so outrageous that we were just actually laughing at some points of it. And, you know, we're talking like the 80s here. Basically, H.G. Lewis had stopped making films and was doing direct mail advertising, I believe, or something like that. He had no clue how over this film was and how in demand this film was until he did, I believe it was the second Chiller Theater show, which was called Horrorthon. He was the guest there. And never realized how many fans he had, and I think that's where he met Mike Veraney, and that's where they agreed to put out Blood Feast. First on VHS, then eventually on DVD with all the extras with Herschel and Dave Friedman commentating and all that other good shit. It's a groundbreaking movie. As cheap, cheesy, and horrible as it is, it opened the door for the whole, mad slasher craze, as my dog is bugging me right here. So, that's what I know about Blood Feast. I've seen it since then. It's like I said, it's a weird, cheesy little film, but it had an impact and had a huge following. I picked this up for the simple reason that I wanted to see Sid Haig's last film. It's called Hannakka. Sid's in it, Carolyn Williams, P.J. Souls, Dick Miller. Who directed this thing? Eben Megar. Okay, let me be blunt. This is part of the reason I don't watch modern horror. To see my friend, and I know he had cancer, and I know he was recovering from cancer or just beaten cancer, or maybe it had just come back, I'm not exactly sure. But to have him walking around with no shirt on, showing his ravaged body, and just to exploit him in that way, well, I didn't finish the film. Didn't finish it for a number of reasons. First off, when something opens up with a naked girl chained in a filthy fucking bathtub that looks like she's wallowing in shit, it's a turnoff. Seeing Sid in that horrible shape that he was a turnoff. You should have just given him money that he needed, because I know some people that were on this film were connected with him. And honestly, you exploited him. Same thing that Rob Zombie did with him in whatever that Tree from Hell thing was. You exploited the man at the end of his days. And it sucked. I know exploitation and I know what it means, but to see a friend of mine be exploited in that way, well, it sort of pisses me off and disgusts me. And the other thing is, this film, and this is going to sound weird coming from me, is too fucking graphic. I mean, the part where I turned it off was they had some chick tied down and chained up, and they're taking whoever the murderer is, the killer, whatever, is skinning her alive and peeling this tattoo, which was probably about this big, off her back. The blood that's coming out is black. It looks like fucking real blood. And see, this is where I sort of draw the line on certain shit because, fake blood, bright red, we know it ain't real. We know a lot of shit ain't real. But when you start blurring the line from fantasy to reality, that's why I won't watch this shit. And it's exactly what it is. It's shit. It's exploitation. It's fucking garbage. It's been done before. Make a fucking movie that makes some fucking sense, that scares some people instead of grossing everybody the fuck out. Case in point, another movie that just came out, Terrifier 2, that's claimed the fame that it had people throwing up. Great. I want to see a movie that makes me sick to my stomach. This is fucking bullshit. You want to be sick to your stomach? Let me take you back to 1984. This lovely little fucking film, Beyond the Darkness, which was done by Joe D'Amato, which basically involves a mad taxidermist who basically digs up his girlfriend's corpse and is dropping her internal organs in buckets. There's plenty of blood, there's plenty of gore, there's plenty of nudity. It's all very fucking dark and grim. And he has a housekeeper that's will murder people for him. There's graphic dismemberments, there's graphic violence, there's graphic everything. Of course, this was picked up by Terry Levine's Aquarius Releasing and put out as Buried Alive. With an ad campaign obviously dreamed up by Rick Sullivan because Rick worked for Terry. And I can't show you the one sheet because it's on the computer. I just pulled it up and I'm not blowing $200 on this piece of shit, but I'll give you the highlights so you'll know what you were going to get into. Let's see. The poster reads, "A fate worse than death. A virginal angel by day, a vampiric, blood-sucking zombie by night." Bullshit. She was chewed to death. She was. Savage dismemberments. Yeah, there was. Let's see, what else we got here? I gotta blow this up a little bit. Ah, shit. I just lost it. Okay, I'll blow it up again. Savage dismemberments. Slaughter and destruction were her specialty. They ripped his guts out. An acid bath revenge. Pails of entrails. They tore her limb from limb, and he was a terror-crazed coward. Buried Alive. Warning. Film may contain scenes that are extremely violent and shocking. Well, yeah, they were. And Terry Levine was one of those guys who pushed the envelope to the limit. But unfortunately, he debuted this film in the Selwyn, which was right under his office. And it ran for 1 week. And I pulled this thing out because, let me see. It ran for 1 week at the Selwyn, then disappeared, then was brought back a couple weeks later to the Liberty Theater, where it was paired with 10 Violent Women and The House Where Death Lives. So you got 3 films for the price of 1, and this was not a make them die slowly deal. This was not, a Caligula deal or a Dr. Butcher deal. This film just lasted there 2 weeks, and that was it. But you want something grotesque and nasty? That's it. That's a fucking film from 1984. It was done in 84. We didn't need this shit done today. But now we're on the subject of the Liberty. I thought this was interesting because I had to go through, somebody had given me a list of movie timetables from back then, I think from 79 up until the 90s. And it had all the things that ran. Now, what I'm going to read to you, these were double features or triple features that played at the Liberty. And sometimes the pairings made no sense. First off, we had Brass Target, which is a war movie, and White Buffalo, which is a Western. George Kennedy, I think, was in Brass Target. I know Charles Bronson was in White Buffalo. Then we have Star Wars and the Terrornauts, a high-end sci-fi movie with a low-end sci-fi movie. And another one here, Bloody Fists and Bamboo House of Dolls. I don't think either of these two have been released on DVD. Then we have Secrets and Hotspur, the Lee Frost movie, that nasty little Western. Meat Cleaver Massacre and Love Camp Number 7. The Toolbox Murders and Dolomite. Brutal Justice and Assault on Precinct 13. East End Hustle and Sugar Cookies. Body Snatcher from Hell and Bloody Pit of Horror. What's this one? Last Embrace and Killer Force. And if you ever seen Killer Force, it's an all-star disaster with, let's see, Telly Savalas looking like he was doing a Las Vegas lounge act, Peter Fonda with an afro, O.J. Simpson, Christopher Lee, and, oh God, I'm fucking losing it here. Well, some chick that I can't remember, but it's a mess. And then we have Beneath the Valley of the Ultra Vixens and Super Vixens. I pulled that story already about the projectionist that had a heart attack in mid-stroke while watching this at the, what the hell was it? The Fox Theater in Hackensack. Beyond the Door 2 and The Dragon Lives. Escape from Athens and Starship Invasions. Richard Pryor in Concert and Ghetto Freaks, The Hollywood Strangler and Night of the Demon, Escape from Alcatraz and Bloodsport, Love and Bullets and Firepower, Screams of a Winter Night and The Redeemer, Nurse Sherry in the House of Psychotic Women. Well, that makes sense because it's Sam Sherman, Independent International. Here's a good one. 10 in Boulevard Nights, Tourist Trap and the Toolbox Murders, Carnivorous, which is Last Cannibal World, Last Survivor, Cannibal, and other titles, and Vampire Hookers. Injustice for All and Midnight Express, Prize Fighter and Star Crash, Rape Killer and Autopsy, The Godsend and that eternal clunker, The Terror, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes and Return of the Pink Panther. Well, they go together. Cruising and The Last Embrace, Blazing Saddles and The Samurai Kid, Exterminator and Death Ship, Cry Uncle and Love Camp Number 7, The Blob and Son of the Blob, little nostalgia brought back for the fans. Here's one that hung around for like 4 weeks, Savage Man, Savage Beast and Barbed Wire Dolls. Something else interesting, and you guys probably didn't know this was actually released as a feature, Faces of Death and Journey into the Beyond, Don't Play with Fire and Slave of the Cannibal God, The Love Butcher and Going All the Way, The Mac and Goliathon, Shocking Asia and Dead People, The Teachers and Moonraker. Let's see. What the hell? Something was wrong here. Okay. So there was some other stuff. But anyway, like I said, Buried Alive was released with 10 Violent Women, a 10 Michaels film, and House Where Death Lives. Lasted 2 weeks. So that's only the Liberty. I have, other theaters, and when I went through this thing, it answered the question I keep having in my head, which was the name of the theater that ran 3 different kung fu flicks every week, and it was the Empire. They had switched over to that. It looked like, I guess in the late 70s. I mean, I can remember driving past there when I was, doing a mail run for that company I worked for, and there was always 3 kung fu films playing there. So that cleared up that mystery, because for some fucking reason, I could never remember that. So, yeah, those were how those things were paired, and some of the pairings in other theaters were even fucking weirder. Of course, the Liberty was part of the Brandt organization. They owned 6 theaters there. The Liberty was one, the Lyric was the other. Can't remember. I think the Victory was also their only porn grinder, but they had 3 other ones, and the Empire might have been one too. I'm not sure, but they had bought up these 6 theaters right after the crash of the Depression and stuff like that. So yeah, it was all cool. And like I said, you look at some of these pairings and you're going, what the fuck, really? So that's our show for today, and we will come back with some more shit during the week. So until then, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. Above all, stay safe, and we'll catch you on the flip side.